Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our midday briefing. We have several announcements for you today because it's Friday. Let me begin by sharing the agenda of President von der Leyen for the upcoming days. As you know, the President is currently in Johannesburg, participating in the G20 summit hosted by South Africa. Earlier this morning, President von der Leyen, along with President Costa, held a press conference ahead of the summit, which begins officially tomorrow. The President's statement from that press conference is already available online for all of you who are interested. Now, this afternoon, President von der Leyen and President Ramaphosa will co-host the final pledging event for the Scaling Up Renewables in Africa campaign. This is an initiative which was launched last year at the G20 summit in Rio, and it aims to drive investments in clean energy and improve access to electricity for the, unfortunately, many millions across the African continent who still lack access to electricity. I invite you to tune into the pledging conference live on EBS starting as of 2:30 this afternoon. President von der Leyen will announce the total campaign pledge. After the conference, we'll publish a press release with the detailed information along with the President's opening and closing remarks. Now, moving on with the agenda, together with the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, later this afternoon, the President will meet with Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, and Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, separately. Saturday and Sunday, the President will be participating at the G20 summit. On Monday, the President will travel to Luanda to participate in the European Union-African Union Summit. Ahead of it, the President will participate in the Europe-Africa Business Forum. She will then take part in the official opening of the summit, which will then last until Tuesday. Now, we published further details on both the G20 and the EU African Union Summit yesterday with our daily news in case you want and need to check the details. Also, stay tuned via our usual communication channel for possible further updates and publications on the President's engagement in South Africa and in Angola. Lastly, and when back from Angola, the President will travel to Hanover on Thursday. There she will deliver a keynote lecture at the commemorative symposium in honor of Friedrich Wilhelm Schwarz at the Hanover Medical School. And that's it for the agenda of the President. Alors, on continue en français. Aujourd'hui, nous avons adopté les décisions correspondant au paquet d'infractions du mois de novembre. Nous avons publié un ensemble complet du matériel de presse, comprenant, comme d'habitude, un résumé des principales décisions, un communiqué sur la non-communication des mesures de transposition du droit de l'Union européenne, ainsi que 3 communiqués de presse sur les décisions de saisir la Cour de justice dans les domaines du droit de la famille et de l'environnement. And I move again back to English to welcome our groups of visitors, 2 groups. We welcome 30 students from Ghent University here as part of a visit organized by our representation in Belgium. Very welcome to our press room. And we are also joined by 25 journalists covering regional affairs, and you come from several member states, Bulgaria, Croatia, Estonia, La France, Deutschland, Greece, Italy, Malta and Romania. If I'm not mistaken, I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. So quite a European group. Enjoy your time. You're most welcome here to the press room with us. And with that, we can finally take your questions. I start here with Vitaly, please.
Thank you. Vitaly Sizov, Freedom TV channel. My questions about this peace plan that was published yesterday. Have you seen the original of this plan? Was EU involved in the develop of this plan, or at least aware about preparation of this plan, maybe via United States or Ukraine? And what's the position of EU on this plan? What EU is going to do? Maybe propose some alternative. Thank you.
Thank you, Vitaly. And I mentioned the press conference that President von der Leyen gave this morning in South Africa. She actually got a similar question on the so-called US peace plan. Now, we haven't been communicated formally the plan, but on this question, the President reiterated that from the very first day of this war, we have stood by Ukraine side by side, and together we have been defending the principles of the UN Charter. We have been working very intensively with President Zelensky and President von der Leyen herself, personally, very engaged with President Zelensky and the coalition of a willing for a just, for a lasting peace in Ukraine. This is an ongoing process, and as you said, yesterday this peace plan or 28-point plan was made public. The President announced this morning that she will discuss the situation both with European leaders and with leaders of the G20 who are in Johannesburg, in the sidelines of the G20. And she also said that she will reach out to President Zelensky to discuss this issue. And she reminded that, as always, there is nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. On this topic, still, yes, Valentina?
Yes, thank you so much, Valentina Vasilyeva, TVP. Вот так. Financial Times reports that the Trump administration wants a deal by Thanksgiving, so on November 27. Do you think that the European Union will have enough time to convince Washington to change his position or to do something, to suggest something to Ukraine, they to be able to stand and not to give up on this plan? Because it seems to be that Donald Trump really wants this to be agreed.
Yes, Valentina, I have nothing to add to what I just said, and which is really echoing what the President said herself. So she will be reaching out to President Zelensky to discuss the issue. She will have discussions in the margins of the G20 with the leaders who are present there about the topic, and we will then take it from there. Jorge.
Hello, Paula. Yes, also on this, can you give us a bit more indication when she plans to speak with President Zelensky? Does she mean this weekend, for instance? And second, does she also plan to call President Trump? Because I know that they have a pretty good relation. Does she intend to call the White House as well? Thank you.
I don't have more information. Jorge said the President was at the press conference. We haven't been able to speak after that, but these calls could be imminent, and there could be also further calls. That's why we also said stay tuned, because of course there can maybe other contacts in the context of the G20 and while in Africa. We'll keep you posted if there are any relevant readouts. Jorge, you will have a follow-up.
Yes. I know obviously that you're still looking into the plan, 20 points. There's one point actually that mentions the Russian immobilized assets. I know you're working on that regarding the options paper. Can you just, for clarity, confirm that your work on the options paper and the financing for Ukraine will continue unchanged, irrespective of the content of this deal? Thank you.
I can confirm that the ongoing intense work on the immobilized Russian assets will continue indeed. Yeah.
Thank you, Magnus, with Euractiv. I just note that you say there haven't been any formal communication with the EU about this peace plan. Could you just clarify for a minute? Has there been any informal communication about the plan before it was presented? And has there been any communication since then from the Americans putting pressure on the Europeans to adopt this plan? Thank you.
Magnus cannot confirm whether there have been any contacts with the US on this particular topic since the announcement yesterday of this plan, which was then published in many media sources. Yes.
Thank you. I'm probably asking the same question again, but has there been any communication by the American officials or the ambassador with the European countries' ambassadors in Kiev? And there are also reports that President Zelensky is expected to call several European leaders, including Germany and France's leaders. Can you confirm or deny? Is he also expected to speak to the President of the EU Commission today?
I mentioned this before. Of course, I cannot speak for other leaders. I can speak for President von der Leyen, who said herself today at the press conference in South Africa that she will be reaching out to President Zelensky. I cannot give you details about the exact timing of this call, but as said, stay tuned because there could be then any feedback if and when such contacts take place. Yes.
Ari from MLEX. So there is an infringements package which just came out, and it shows that the European Commission has started an infringement case against Italy over the conditions it's imposed on Unicredit and Banco BPM. So what is the status of DG Competition's case under Article 21 of the merger regulations? And the European Commission actually outlined extensive concerns before the summer, and Italy responded. So what happens next, and why does it appear to be delayed? Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm happy to ask Ariana to join us to give us more information about this particular case, which is indeed, as you mentioned, part of the infringements package adopted this morning. Ariana.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, indeed, today the European Commission addressed a letter of formal notice to Italy, raising its concerns regarding the compatibility of its so-called golden power legislation with EU law, and Italy has indeed now 2 months to respond to this letter. For what concerns your specific question, what I can say is that the Commission's letter of formal notice addresses, as I was saying, Italy's golden power legislation and is not directed to any specific case. For what concerns the Article 21 procedure, indeed we had set out on 14th July our preliminary concerns regarding the exercise of the golden power legislation in a specific transaction under the Article 21 merger regulation. The Italian government has replied to these concerns, and we are assessing now Italy's positions and other developments, considering possible next steps under the Article 21 merger regulation.
Thank you, Ariana. Any questions on this topic for Ariana? Yes, Angela. On this?
No, actually, it was a question on Ukraine. I raised my hand before and you didn't see me. So can I ask it now, or I have to wait?
So if there are no more questions for Arianna, online there are few, and then indeed we'll come back to foreign affairs, also because Anita will need to leave shortly. So let's first conclude here on this topic. We see... Yes. On this topic, so that we make sure that we can then cover foreign affairs first. Yeah, Marco probably on this topic. Marco Bresolin.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Last April, the Italian government adopted a decree in order to implement this legislation and to block a merger in the banking sector. As far as I understand, the Commission today is not criticizing the decree, but it's criticizing the legal framework. So the Italian law that was adopted in 2022 to the banking sector. So my question is, why did the Commission open an infringement procedure only now? I mean, 3 years after the adoption of the law, if the law is not, or it's a risk of not being in line with the EU legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, it's separate cases, as I was explaining. Today's decision is on the golden power legislation in itself, without specific reference to any case, while the Article 21 of the merger regulation procedures is separate, and there we have not taken any decision. So today's decision is sending a letter of formal notice concerning the golden power legislation. As you know, we have actually launched an EU pilot on the 1st of April this year to seek clarifications on the application of the golden power legislation to banking transactions. And this is what triggered today's letter of formal notice. Italy had replied to our EU pilot dialogue, but we had considered that the response by the Italian government did not address sufficiently our concerns, and this is why now we're having this letter of formal notice. Of course, we will remain in close and constructive contact with the Italian authorities and therefore are very much looking forward to their reply within the 2 months period that is always envisaged following the sending of a letter of formal notice.
Thank you. Arianna, we have also Lorenzo Consoli. Lorenzo, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Yes, very good.
Okay. No, the situation is a little bit complicated because there are actually, if I understand well, 2 different lines of intervention. One under the competition services and the Commission, and another one under the banking, financial affairs services, if I'm not wrong. So can you explain to us, Arianna, what is this belonging to? Is this about the financial services, and the competition line is still, let's say, suspended? We don't know what is going to happen there, because when you say that it is the regulation on mergers that Article 21 that is still not decided what to do about that. I understand this. Can you please confirm that? So we have one line that is now going on with this infringement procedure, and this is in the field of financial affairs, and the other one on competition that is suspended. Is it right? Thank you.
Lorenzo, to clarify what she already said.
It's what I was trying to indeed clarify in the previous 2 questions, but perhaps I was not clear enough, so third attempt, hopefully the good one. Indeed, it's 2 separate strands, as we have always been saying. This decision of today relates to concerns that we're raising on the so-called golden power legislation, which is Law Decree 21/2012 as amended and extended in 2021 and 2022. So this is the legal reference. And this law grants the Italian government broad prerogatives to review, block or impose conditions on corporate transactions in the banking sector. So this is indeed the decision today to send a letter of formal notice relating to the banking sector, and it follows an EU pilot that we had launched back in April. Separate, as I was saying, is the procedure under Article 21 of the merger regulation, and there no decision has been taken. We are assessing Italy's reply to the concerns we had raised back in the summer. So separate matters, separate procedure. The decision today relates to no specific case. It relates to the golden power legislation in general, and it's a sending of a letter of formal notice. Now Italy will reply, and then of course we will continue our dialogue with our member state.
Good. Any other questions on this? Yes, I see Tommaso indeed, and then let's try to conclude on this topic. Tommaso.
Yes, good afternoon, Tommaso Gallavotti, Italy. It's just a follow-up. I mean, the offer of Unicredit on Banco BPM has been, Unicredit left the offer, abandoned the offer on Banco BPM months ago. So are you planning to be in the future a bit faster on this, just to be effective, because the offer is long gone? Many thanks.
Tommaso, I'll try it once again. This decision has nothing to do with a specific case. We're looking at the golden power legislation in general. It's a process we have with our member states. We always have it when we believe that there might be concerns relating to the application of EU law. We start a dialogue with our member states. We eventually start an EU pilot if the initial contacts informally have not led to a satisfactory outcome. In the context of the EU pilot, our member state replies. We assess the reply. If it addresses sufficiently the concern, good. Otherwise, we can decide to continue with the procedure. And the next step in the procedure is the sending of a letter of formal notice, which is what we're doing today. This is on the golden power legislation in itself and does not relate to any specific transaction.
Good. I think it was very clear, Arianna. Thank you. Now, if I may, we move to questions on foreign affairs, so that we'll come back to that because Anita really needs to leave for an event. So let's take the foreign affairs questions first, and we'll come back to competition. Angela.
Yeah, it's on Ukraine. According to some media reports, European officials are in Kiev working on another plan, on another peace plan with Ukrainians. This is a yes or no question. Can you confirm this? And if yes, can you elaborate more on this? Thanks.
Anita, do we have more information about that?
Thank you, Angela. You're referring to another plan? Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so we cannot confirm that. Yes?
Yes. Am I right with my feeling that you don't seem particularly eager to intensively engage with the peace plan put forward by the US administration? Thank you.
You are free to have your impressions, Diego. We are very, very keen on engaging with Ukraine, on engaging with our international partners who have shown interest in really bringing peace to this too long war, and that's what we will continue to do, as I also said already earlier today. Other questions on foreign affairs to Anita? Yes, Alexander.
Thank you, Paula. Alexandra Voudouri with Καθημερινή. Two questions to Anita. Anita, the Russian Foreign Ministry accused Greece yesterday of pursuing a provocative, confrontational course against the Russian Federation and taking openly unfriendly steps due to its decision to cooperate with Ukraine in constructing and using unmanned maritime vessels, and for that, Russia would respond appropriately to Greece. First of all, what is the Commission's reaction to these statements? And secondly, in case there is an appropriate response by Russia to Greece, how will the European Union respond? And second question, Russia's Foreign Ministry spokesperson also said yesterday that Athens was among the first to send weapons and ammunition to Ukraine, and these weapons are currently used by Ukrainian armed forces daily against civilians in Donbass, Crimea, Zaporizhia, and other southern regions. How do you respond to such a claim? Thank you.
Thank you. I will just respond on two of your points because the other part was a counterfactual question and we don't like to go into the ifs. First and foremost, it does not come as a surprise that Russia is resorting to threats. Of course, we stand in full solidarity with Greece. We have seen also what Russia is capable of being an aggressor, and this is why we're with Ukraine throughout. On top of it, we have seen also the provocative behavior and the threats that Russia is also posing to our own security. These are multiple hybrid threats to our member states. So for this reason, we're taking action, as we have done in boosting our defense. We have the European defense readiness. Thomas might be able to or might want to come in. And this is why we're engaging in supporting Ukraine, but also in boosting our defense on that.
Good, thank you, Anita. Valeria Pashko, online.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Valeria Pashko, Public Broadcast of Ukraine. It's on 20th sanction package. Yesterday, Minister Siarto stated that at the Foreign Affairs Council, ministers were discussing that restrictions on Russian oil supplies and nuclear cooperation should be should be included to the next sanctions packages. Could you please confirm that they were discussing that? If not, what was the discussion kind of about the sanctions against Russia yesterday? Thanks.
Thank you. Indeed, we are working on the next package, and also what the topic of the discussion was yesterday at the FAC was to focus on the shadow fleet and exactly what we can do in a more effective way to ensure that our packages are way more targeted, and also they look into shadow fleets more specifically, so that we can cut Russia's revenues for funding its war. And speaking of Russia and its threats throughout, because the previous question was also on civilian infrastructure, more than 90% of Russia's targets in Ukraine are on the civilian infrastructure. So this is why we are stepping in to cut all the revenues that Russia has to the extent possible.
Thank you, Anita. Other questions to Anita? Yes, in the back.
Hello, Maria Psara with FC Newspaper. It's a follow-up on Alexandra's question. Does the Commission has any estimation, any explanation for which reason the angriness by the Russians is triggered against Greece? Thank you.
It's like you're asking from a bully why is he all the time angry. No, we cannot answer. You need to ask them.
Yes, Marianne, we wish we had an answer. Other questions to Anita? I see you there. Go ahead. Yes.
How confident is the Commission that all member states remain aligned on Ukraine if the peace deal of President Trump diverges from the policy of the European Union?
Investing a lot of efforts in conveying our messages, our way of seeing the situation in Ukraine to all our partners, including the US, and we will continue to do so. Other questions for Anita? Yes.
Bonjour. J'ai une question concernant le sommet Union africaine-Union européenne.
Ça sera pour, on va voir, peut-être pour Anouar. Sinon, s'il y en a plus de questions pour Anita, donc on va continuer sur les affaires extérieures avec Anouar. Merci Anita, comme ça tu peux continuer ta journée autre part. Allez-y.
Oui. Alors, concernant le sommet Union africaine-Union européenne qui aura lieu le 24 et le 25 novembre à Luanda, l'entité ERAST a été invitée à cette réunion. Et donc, alors qu'aucun État membre de l'Union européenne ne reconnaît cette entité, et sachant qu'à chacune des échéances Union africaine, Union européenne, cette entité exploite ces événements, quelle est la position de l'Union européenne sur ces manœuvres et est-ce qu'il y a eu un changement par rapport à la position de l'Union européenne concernant la reconnaissance de cette entité? Merci.
Oui, merci pour la question. Les sommets et ministériels de l'Union européenne, Union africaine sont coprésidés et co-organisés par l'Union européenne et l'Union africaine. Et les modalités agréées prévoient que chaque partie soit responsable de l'invitation de ses propres membres. Les invitations aux membres africains sont donc envoyées par l'Union africaine. Toutefois, la position de l'Union européenne est bien connue. Ni l'Union européenne, ni aucun de ses États membres ne reconnaissent la RASD. La présence de la RASD aux réunions de l'Union européenne et de l'Union africaine, tant au niveau ministériel qu'au niveau des chefs d'État et de gouvernement, n'a aucune influence sur cette position.
Très bien, merci Anouar de clarifier ceci. D'autres questions pour Anouar? Noureddine.
J'ai une question sur le Soudan. Yesterday, High Representative was not in a position to answer the question regarding the sanction against the family who is leading the RSF and suspected to have committed atrocities, and even these atrocities maybe are ongoing. Why the High Representative was unable, why the AS was unable to put more people on the sanction proposal, let's say, submit to the member states, having in mind this war has been going for 2 years at least. I guess the AAS or member states have a quantity of evidence about who is doing what, or mainly those who are suspected of committing probably war crime and crimes against humanity. Why this the attitude was only to sanction only one individual and not at least the leadership of the RSF? My second observation on this, there are European arms produced by members, by European Union member states, which are there are evidence that they are used in these atrocities. Do you have an explanation how European member states arms production is used there? Thank you.
Thank you, Nordin. I'll start with the second angle of the question and then I'll go to the first. We urge all external actors to take necessary measures to end the sale or supply of arms and related material to all parties as per the arms embargo established by the UN Security Council resolutions 1556 and 1591. The EU will continue to advocate for expanding the mandate of the ICC and of the arms embargo to the whole country. That's one. Then, on your first angle, going back to the sanctions. Let's start from the start. The EU has condemned in the strongest possible terms the grave and ongoing atrocities perpetrated by the Rapid Support Forces. In response to these crimes, yesterday, the EU adopted sanctions against Abdelrahim Hamdan Dagalo, the second in command of the RSF. This sends a strong signal that the international community will come after those who are responsible. Now, let's zoom out, because you were analyzing one decision, the one of yesterday. But let's look at a macro level and not only at a micro one. The announcement of yesterday came as the 5th round of sanctions, right? 11 individuals, 5 on each side, on the RSF and on the SAF, plus the one of yesterday, together with 8 entities, again, on each side, 4 for each. I would here maybe also analyze the announcement of yesterday as an announcement that shows how sanctions are progressive pressure. And also coming to what the High Rep said yesterday, in terms of referring to the level of the individual that we have sanctioned yesterday in terms of being the second in command, which shows that we have been escalating in terms of the chain of command. So in terms of analyzing these measures at macro level, this is not a drip by drip, this is not a drop, this is part of a gradual approach and progressive one.
Thank you, Anwar. Well, indeed, there had been questions before here in the press room whether there would be sanctions against Sudan. Well, yesterday there was indeed a very concrete step in this sense. Noureddin, you have a follow-up?
Je vais te demander d'être patiente avec moi parce que j'ai un follow-up sur le Soudan, mais j'ai aussi une question sur la Palestine et sur Gaza et sur la réunion d'hier soir. Anwar, the problem is that it's true what you are saying, but on the other side, we see that European Union is enough reluctant and do not deal with the government in Khartoum, which is recognized by United Nations, even though we can have all kind of critics, but still there is a civilian government working and trying to do or to start any kind of political process or political transition. Many questions are talking about that. Why the European Union is, this is my question, why the European Union is reluctant to deal with the government of Khartoum? Thank you.
Thank you, Noureddin. I will not here comment on every single diplomatic outreach that is conducted by the EU or its member state. I would rather focus on what the High Representative put forward yesterday, in the sense that ministers yesterday in the Foreign Affairs Council discussed and agreed to strengthen diplomatic outreach and raise the issues to stop the support in terms of enablers in this conflict that is raging in Sudan. And I will keep it and leave it there.
Then Noureddin, you announced another question. Go ahead.
J'ai une question en fait peut-être pour Guillaume et Anwar éventuellement. C'est sur les résultats. Quels sont les résultats de la réunion des donateurs hier sur la Palestine? Quelles sont les orientations? On sait que ça a été, le focus était sur soutenir les réformes de l'autorité palestinienne. Est-ce qu'il y a des résultats concrets? Est-ce qu'il y a des orientations pour l'avenir ou peut-être d'autres deadlines? Et est-ce que Anwar éventuellement pourrait compléter ce qui a été dit dans le Conseil, dans le FAC, sur ce même sujet, mais sur la reconstruction et sur la participation de l'Union européenne dans ses efforts avec ce fameux SMCC américain à Gaza. Thank you.
Okay, donc on va voir avec Anwar et puis passer à Guillaume, effectivement, pour le sujet du donor group. Et donc, si tu peux commencer, Anwar, et après on va encore voir s'il y a d'autres questions pour toi, avant de demander à Guillaume de venir nous joindre. Vas-y.
Merci, Noureddin. I'll start first, indeed, on my angles in terms of CFSP, and then happy to give the floor to Guillaume on the Palestine donor group. You mentioned two angles, reconstruction and then CMCC. I'll start with reconstruction. Our position has always been clear. The European Union reiterates its commitment to international law and to a comprehensive, just and lasting peace based on the two-state solution, in accordance with relevant UN Security Council resolutions, where two democratic states, Israel and Palestine, live side by side in peace and security within secure and recognized borders. In terms of reconstruction, Gaza must be rebuilt. Palestinians must return to live in a safe environment where governance is clear and legitimate and the economy relaunched. According to the UN Security Council Resolution 2803, the Board of Peace will set the framework and coordinate funding for the development of Gaza in a manner that is consistent with relevant international legal principles. At our level, Commission level, we are mobilizing all relevant tools at our disposal to support humanitarian early recovery and reconstruction in Gaza. In terms of the diplomatic angle here, reconstruction should rest on integrated and consistent regional approach that links European, Arabs, and US role anchors funding to legitimate Palestinian governance and integrate security and civilian efforts from the outset. We will also be ready to cooperate with Egypt on their plan for the organization of a conference on the reconstruction of Gaza when conditions are met. And I would here also reiterate our position that has been also outlined by our heads of state and government at the European Council when the EU had called on Israel to release withheld clearance revenues that are necessary to ensure the proper functioning of the Palestinian Authority, along with the renewal of corresponding banking relationships and the delivery of essential services to the population. Now, on the CMCC, the Civil Military Coordination Center. What's the state of play after the FAC, also in terms of our CSDP missions and operations? EUBAM Rafah maintains its readiness to redeploy at the Rafah crossing point as soon as it reopened to monitor the crossing in both directions. EUPOL COPS, that is currently set up as an advisory mission, advises on policing and the wider criminal justice chain in the West Bank. Possible amendment of the EUPOL COPS mission and its mandate to include a training component has to be decided by the EU member states. And the EU is indeed proposing to train 3,000 policemen in Gaza. So that's what I can say at this stage following the FAC, but happy to have Guillaume here to complement on the Palestinian donor group that took place yesterday.
Let me just see if other questions for you, Anwar. Mose, you had signaled one for Anwar. Is it still on Gaza?
Yes, thank you very much. It's Anwar on Gaza. Most up a lot at this time. Anwar, you talked about the Foreign Affairs Council meeting yesterday, and High Representative Callas, she mentioned, I think, after the press conference, that there won't be any role for Hamas in Gaza in the implementation of Trump's peace plan. But it's not yet clear how Hamas will be disarmed or decommissioned from its weapons. I would like to ask you if the force, the ISF, International Stabilization Force, if it has a clear mandate to enforce peace, although I think it's mentioned, in the Security Council resolution. And if so, how will that force carry out this task if, as we know, many of those countries who are supposed to participate in the force are reluctant to use force against Hamas? And as we know, and the reconstruction of Gaza cannot start until Hamas has been completely disarmed. And I suppose also that Israel will not withdraw from the so-called Yellow Line until this happens. So what is EU's position on this crucial issue when it comes to continue to phase 2 of Trump's peace plan? Thank you.
Thanks, Mose. Our position has not changed. The adoption of the UN Security Council Resolution 2803 is an important step in advancing the comprehensive plan to end the conflict in Gaza. what's the position of the EU? The EU calls on all parties to adhere to the provisions of the resolution and to implement without delay the comprehensive plan itself. You mentioned reforms and reconstructions, and this is also why it's relevant to hear from Guillaume the latest from yesterday's meeting, because there are different phases, right, in terms of the comprehensive plan, the implementation of the ceasefire, and then obviously the reconstruction. And this is why in this process the question of the reforms is key ahead of the reconstruction in Gaza. But on this I'll rather leave the floor to my colleague Guillaume.
Good. If no further questions for Anwar, then we'll ask Guillaume to come and address more specifically the question on the Palestine donor group. I then also have Yossi online with a question also on this topic, but let's start with what had already been asked by Noureddin. Yes, just very specifically on the Palestine donor group, Noureddin, if you don't mind repeating just for the sake of the recording.
Yes, very quickly. What was the result of the meeting? It was focused on the Palestinian Authority reforms, which orientation, which any kind of next meeting deadline, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. So yesterday we had the first meeting of the Palestine donor group. It was a success. It brought together around 60 delegations and allowed for substantive discussions on the role of the Palestinian Authority as a reliable interlocutor in the region and its reform agenda implementation. So it drew international political support from the partners in the room. The discussion showed that progress has been made in the implementation of the reform agenda, but on different priorities, but more needs to be done. The implementation needs to continue on some other reforms. So we'll continue to follow this work to make sure that the reforms are adopted and implemented. Also in the meeting, the EU presented the Pegase mechanism and its added value for well-tested, safe and sound mechanism to transfer financial support to the Palestinian Authority. So it was also the occasion for some member states to pledge additional financial support to the Palestinian Authority using the Pegase system that we have in place. So now the work will continue on our side. You know that we are a strong advocate of the two-state solution, so we'll continue to use our convening power to support the reform and well-functioning Palestinian Authority.
Guillaume, did you mention the pledge? Maybe I've overheard you.
No, so
it's worth recalling the amount which came together yesterday.
So yesterday, member states pledged 88 million euros for this year using the Pegase mechanism.
Very welcome support by some member states. Yossi Lemkovic, you also had a question on the Palestine donor group online.
Yes, you hear me? Hello, you hear me?
Yes, Yossi, we can hear and see you.
My question regarding the Palestine donor group, Guillaume just mentioned that there were around 60 delegations. But there was no U.S. representative. That's what was noted. And Israel was not invited. I would like to have a clarification why Israel was not invited, while I think Israel has an important role in the Israeli-Palestinian issue. And also, I have the impression that Commissioner Sousa put a lot of pressure on Israel, while the Palestinian Authority is still continue to implement the pay for slay system, rewarding terrorists, while it's in the reform agenda, I think. And also a question: will the 88 million be paid this year? While the Palestinian Authority Prime Minister said that the reforms will be implemented within 2.5 years from now? Thank you.
Thank you. On your first question of the attendance of, the non-invitation to Israel. So yes, I can confirm that Israel was not invited to this first meeting of the Palestine donor group. So the Palestine donor group was not intended as a criticism to Israel, but to support Palestine. So the EU underlines the importance of a frank and open dialogue with Israel, noting the EU's diplomatic engagement with Israel and our strong relations with this country. So this dialogue must include Israel's commitment to transfer withheld clearance revenues to the Palestinian Authority. This was mentioned by Anwar a few minutes ago. And it must also ensure a stable and functioning banking system. So this is crucial as a donor to support the Palestinian Authority. This is crucial as a donor support to the Palestinian Authority cannot replace its autonomous capacity. When it comes to the second question on the prisoners and martyrs scheme, this was also addressed during the press conference by Commissioner Šuica, and she was really clear on her position. So the reform of the social welfare system of the Palestinian Authority has always been key for the EU. The ending of the prisoners and martyrs payment is an important element of the reform agenda, which the Palestinian Authority has committed to. So we stressed this very, very clearly in our meeting with the Palestinian Authority, but also during the press conference. So earlier this year, the Palestinian Authority issued a decree law going into this direction for a reform social protection law, and this was a good signal, and it showed also the commitment of the Palestinian Authority to engage in far-reaching reforms. As you mentioned, we, however, understand that a payment was recently made to families of prisoners based on the previous scheme. We profoundly regret this decision, and as it seems to go against prior announcements. So yesterday we asked clarification to the Palestinian Authority, and we had a frank discussion. I can confirm that on our side, no single euro has been spent in this contested payment. This is also something that Commissioner Šuica stressed yesterday. We have the Pigaze mechanism, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, that really allows us for a safe transfer of our support to the Palestinian Authority. And I can confirm that yesterday there was an engagement, a commitment from the Palestinian Authority to start an audit of the new payment system, and it will start in January. So this will allow us to carry out the verification to assess that no parallel payment schemes are in place, and will give us the evidence that now we can implement the new social protection reform. Finally, on the pledges that were made yesterday, if I remember well, your question is whether this money will be channeled this year. So this is additional money from the member states. So this is not the EU contribution that we announced earlier this year, the 1.6 billion euros. And yes, the money should go to support the well-functioning of the Palestinian Authority. On our side, I mean, it's important to mention that all the support that we provide to the PA is a condition to the fulfilling of the reforms. We have clear conditions. I explained already here our position, and this will continue to be the case.
Yeah, and if I may add, Yossi, Israel has not been invited, but of course it would be, if it's willing to contribute to this donor group, would certainly be welcome. As well as releasing the withheld clearance revenues, as has been called by the European Council as recently as in the last European Council in October. Other questions to Guillaume? I see a question online. Nicola Radicic.
Yeah, I had a question about structures.
Nicola, we have again difficulties in hearing you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll try.
Because there's a bit of echo. It's like the other days.
Yeah.
So it seems to be structural. Give it a try.
Okay. Okay. So
And sorry, present yourself, because indeed I had called Nicola, but you're not Nicola.
Yes, Nicola Nielsen, EU interpreter.
Go ahead, and Nicola, I'll get back to you.
I had a question on EU finance structures in Gaza.
We cannot understand.
Okay.
Sorry for that. Now, Nicola. Khadijis.
Hello. N1 from Serbia, Bosnia. So I hope that you know that TV N1 Serbia.
We also have difficulties understanding you, Nicola.
I really don't know why, because everything should be okay.
Better? Let's see. Let's give it a try.
Okay, you hear me now?
Do you want to try again?
Okay, yeah. Is it any better now?
Okay.
Okay, let's try now. So, my name is Nikola Radesic. I work for N1 Television from Serbia, Bosnia, and Croatia. I think you already know that TV N1 crew in Serbia was brutally attacked yesterday by regime supporters in Serbia. Allegedly, one of the attackers is a man convicted of murder. Dozens of police officers were present on scene, but they refused to react. Just to say that the crew is safe, but the equipment is destroyed. This attack came after repeated fake accusations of Serbian authorities against N1 television, including the accusations that came from President Vučić that N1 is a terrorist TV station. I would like to hear a comment on that. Thank you very much.
Yes, Guillaume.
Thank you, Nicola. Attacks against journalists are unacceptable. The Commission expresses its concern about repeated reports on attacks on journalists in Serbia. We expect Serbian authorities to conduct a swift and transparent investigation into this case.
Thank you, Guillaume. Any other question to Guillaume? No. Thank you very much. Then we can go back to Razia, who has been patiently waiting for her question on competition. And
because I don't have time. Razia Akut,
neither
AFP.
do we. We're almost coming to the end.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
My question's about trade, but I don't see Olaf.
Olaf is in South Africa.
Okay, good for him. I know that the Trade Council is a council issue, but even the member states themselves have said the Commission's taken the lead on this one, since trade is a competence of the Commission. So I just wanted to ask because we have Lutnick coming into town, and we have actually Greer also Sunday meeting with Šefčovič, and I also heard that maybe Virkunen is also meeting with Lutnick as well. So I just wanted to find out, in terms of choreography, what we should expect journalist-wise, but also what is it that the European Commission wants during those meetings, because there have been some reports about a list of tariff exemptions, and we know that alcohol was a big deal over the summer. So I just kind of want to go beyond the Americans are coming to Brussels story. Thank you.
Yes, we can start with that the Americans are coming to Brussels, and we can confirm that as far as we know with both Mr. Greer and Mr. Lutnick, but Ariana will give us more details.
Indeed, Commissioner Šefčovič is meeting with Greer on Sunday, and on Monday in the afternoon, U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick and United States Representative Greer will join Commissioner Šefčovič at the implementation dialogue dedicated to EU-US investments, together with business leaders from across industry sectors active in various EU member states. They will indeed discuss the implementation of the joint statement on a United States and European Union framework, and they will indeed also participate to the trade FAC, as far as I know. But as you said yourself, of course, it's the Council on the choreography. I think there will be a press conference, but it's the Council in the lead, so I would advise you to check with them. On Virkunen, whether she's meeting, I would suggest that Thomas gets back to you later. We can confirm she's meeting as well with the US representatives, so EVP Virkunen will also have meetings with them. More generally, what I can say is that the European Union remains fully focused on the pragmatic implementation of the EU-US statement, and we regularly consult our member states in the context of this important work. We are very much result-oriented and are aiming for concrete and balanced outcomes, delivering mutual benefits for both sides, as we have always said since the summer, which is indeed in line with the scope of the joint statement itself. We do continue to engage with the US, both at political and technical level, and we very much look forward to welcoming Secretary Lutnick and Trade Representative Greer at the FAC trade meeting, as I was saying, on Monday to discuss the ongoing work. We had already said it in July in the joint statement. Both sides have agreed to consider other sectors and products for tariff exemptions, and this remains a priority for the European Union. We are actively discussing on this with the US, so of course at this point we will need to see what comes out of Monday's meetings.
Very good, thank you, Ariana. Razi, a follow-up?
Could you say the sectors, because I know alcohol is there, but I'd be really keen to know if pasta's on the list. And could I ask my question since Ariana is up on the stage? I don't know if it's true, but I heard there was a briefing this week, and I felt a little bit like I was in a Mean Girls film because I wasn't invited, that Ribera had a briefing about Google, and so I'm really keen to know if maybe you can give me some answers on the Google ad tech, because I believe you're examining it, and I just wanted to know what Google has said and whether the Commission's got any views already. Thank you.
Thanks. So let me take it one by one. No, I don't have details on sectors right now. We had said we were going to work on exemptions on other sectors as well. We will need to see what comes out of our discussions with the United States. On Ribera meeting press, I'm afraid I don't have information. Perhaps you can address the cabinet of the EVP, but otherwise the team will check if there's anything we can say more, but we were not involved in this. More generally, on Google ad tech, you know that Google has indeed replied to the concerns that we had raised. We are assessing the proposed measures. Of course, this needs a careful and thorough assessment. It's not for us to provide public details on the proposed measures themselves, but of course we're also aware that a swift change in the market is necessary, and therefore we are committed to carrying out our assessment as a matter of priority. I wouldn't have more information on the timeline at this stage or on the content of the proposal, but we are looking into it very closely, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you, Liana. One final question to wrap up? Nope. Yes? Nope. Then we take the yes, you, to final question for
Thank
today.
You. Petr Obrovský with Czech television. I've got a question on the possible conflict of interests of national politicians in the EU, because Andrej Babiš will maybe become the Czech Prime Minister again. The Commission has already been looking into this problem in the past. So I know you might not be able to comment directly on this case, but if you could briefly explain what are the general rules concerning the conflict of interests when it comes to the EU money in the EU, and what might apply to the national politicians. Thank you.
That is indeed something I can do very quickly. So, of course, at the EU level, we have very clear rules when it comes to conflict of interest, primarily under the financial regulation. So anyone appointed in a member state to take part in implementing, auditing, or controlling the EU budget must avoid any action that could put their personal interests in conflict with the interests of the Union. So they must also take all necessary steps to prevent conflicts of interest from arising and to address any situation that could objectively be perceived as such. So these are the rules, and of course the government and administrative bodies of any member state are expected to respect at all times the rules agreed at the EU level.
Thank you, Pat. Enrique, you looked very disappointed for not being able to ask your question, so we'll give you the very final question. and I think it could be even for Balázs, no?
Yes.
Go ahead then.
Thank you very much. As you know, in Spain, the General Prosecutor has been condemned by the Supreme Court, despite the massive effort of the Spanish government, including the President, to proclaim him innocent. Now there are members of the government saying that, considering that this is a kind of judiciary coup d'etat. I am wondering how are you going to reflect that in the next rule of law report, if it is the case.
I thought you had something else in mind, that's why I thought it was going to be for Balázs, but no, this is for Marcos, and then we conclude with this one.
And I can be very brief on this. We do not comment on individual cases. This is a matter to be dealt with by the Spanish justice system.
And with this, we come to an end of our press briefing and also of our week. Thank you also for your resilience, because this was a very intense press week. Thank you. Bon weekend.